I will ask you some questions in between, just for me to understand, but that will be random. I can pick up anybody and ask what it is. Okay, but don't panic. If you look at these three exams, you know that there are three parts to this exam: the prelims, the mains, and the interview. Which do you think is the toughest part? How many say it's mains? How many say it is prelims? How many say it's interview? Okay. So I would go with the second group. The toughest part in this exam is the prelims, not the mains, not the interview, because that is the biggest filter. I'll give you some statistics. Like suppose if there are 1,000 students, suppose every year, suppose this year, suppose UPSC has declared that there are 1,000 vacancies in civil services. So the number of people who come for interview will be 3,000. It will be roughly 3 times that. And the number of people who will write this exam would be like 3 times that. So 10,000 to 15,000 or 20,000. That was the amount of people who write the mains exam. Now, just imagine how many would be writing the civil services every year. It's around 4 to 5 lakhs, nothing less than that. Now, 4 lakhs writing, let's assume even if they say 30, 40,000, 4 lakhs writing, it's so easy to be in that 3 lakh 60,000, which is not cleared, is it? Isn't it? 4 lakhs and 40,000 getting to write the exam. Is it not the biggest filter? So that is the toughest part. Prelims is the toughest part because there is a lot of competition. So what happens is somewhere we slip into this thing that, mains is more important, I get to see students who start off from mains, but you should be very, very clear. Prelims is the toughest filter, is the biggest filter. Once you cross the prelims, then you are in that select 40,000 group who is writing this exam. But if you have a cross prelims, the broad understanding of concepts, whether it be in general affairs, gen studies, or whatever. Now gen studies is quite expanded. We used to have 2 optionals then, but now it's just 1 optional, and gen studies are now like 4 papers, right? So, it's like that. So don't forget this point. That prelims is your biggest filter. So focus a lot on your prelims examination. That is very, very important. Now, once you cross the hurdle of prelims, then comes the mains. What is very, very important for mains is your power of expression, how you write your answers. Okay. Now, the best way to develop that is obviously going through the Hindu editorials, because the center page articles especially, because there an expert gives his opinion, a very balanced opinion about a particular topic. Okay. So you should you should learn to write, and it could even be a basic thing like, writing a diary. If you're able to express your thoughts, convert them into words and sentences on a paper, even that should suffice. Because once you can do that, once you can convert your thoughts to, say, some words or some write-up, then any topic that you learn, that you can always convert it to some sort of write-up. Okay. Then comes of course, I'm not going to a lot of detail, I'm just touching the broad points, because then we can specifically go to any issue that you have. Then comes the interview. See, the interview is completely a personality test. It's like, how are you as a person? Because your knowledge has already been tested. Okay, how you understand things, how do you understand the topics or the various issues that the country is right now facing. You understand that. But what UPSC wants to understand is, how are you as a person? Are you a genuine person? Are you a person who shows off a lot? Are you a person who lies? Like, there will be a lot of places, like I was, just before these interviews, I had conducted a lot of mock interviews for the probable candidates. So I used to come across these candidates who do not, suppose I ask a question, he does not know the answer for that question. The best thing to do is to say that I don't know. See, ignorance is not at all a sin. If you don't know something, you don't know something. We are not Wikipedias or moving encyclopedias. Okay, we are human beings at the end of the day. There is so much we could have learned. Students try to bluff, they say that, sir, I think it is this. This is not the right answer. Then the board again asks, is it related to something like that? Then, yes, yes, sir, I got it. I just forgot. I had read it in the morning. It just slipped out of my tongue. Memory. These kind of answers actually irritate the board because it's looking at how genuine you are. In fact, I will tell you my example of interview, but when I was facing my interview, it was a 45-minute interview. It was for 45 minutes. And then I can tell you for the 45 minutes or 30 minutes, I could not even answer a single question. The questions were so factual that where was there was some author, uh, Naipaul, I believe. He asked me where was he born. I was not even clear where our Indian fighters had born. So thinking of some author somewhere outside. So they were, and then because I had a background from computer science, so they asked me a lot of things on computer science. I had a lot of difficulty. I had passed this course, my graduation. Now, if you ask me deep computer science questions, there was no way I was going to answer. I said, I don't know. Then at least he asked, tell me who discovered computers. Even that I said, I don't know. So I was like, I thought my interview is gone. This is like over of story. The journey was good. I got all these big people. They are all, conspiring to ensure that I don't clear this exam. And they're asking me all these tough questions like who discovered computer science, who discovered computers, etc. And they asked me some factual questions, situational questions like if you had a friend who was an Naxalite uh, and what would you do if you are a police officer? I would never, at that moment, I was not even in my wildest of dreams imagining that I would get into police someday. So I said, sir, I will go by law. With a very simple answer. I would try to counsel him because he's a friend, and if he doesn't agree, then I'll go by law. I'll do whatever is. Then some more questions, and I was out, and I was like literally in tears. So there was this girl. I was just waiting, and then there's a girl who was clad in a sari, and she was asking me how, she looked some 3 or 4 years elder. She looked very well educated, and she asked me, "How did your interview go?" That was very irritating, actually. I was like, I already have, you know, uh, built a symmetry around my interview. I screwed it up completely. And now there is this girl who's asking me how my interview went. I said, yeah. So I said, yeah, it was okay. Then he said, no, tell me exactly how it went. I was irritated. Then she doesn't even look like she's written the exam and she wants to know about the interview. She kept on pestering me for under 5 minutes. Then I said, ma'am, do you know what this is all about? Then she said, I'm an IAS of 2003 batch, Tamil Nadu cadre. I was like, here there's a girl who was an IAS officer, 2003 batch, and I had just, finished my chances of getting into UPSC. So I told ma'am, like, there's no chance I'm getting into it. It's been very, very bad. And she said, what went on? So I told her, for the 30 minutes, I just said, I don't know. Then she said, you said I don't know? I said, yes, I said, I don't know. Then you will make it. I thought, is she mad? Then I said, so what's the logic? I said, but why are you here? You are a nice also. She said that her husband was also giving the interview the same day. I said, okay. So that coaching institute love. So, okay, I said, fine. Why do you think that? She said, see, what they look for is whether you are honest. If you didn't know, if you said no, they are not testing your knowledge. They're just testing whether you're honest. So you need a lot of courage to keep saying no for 30 minutes. Especially when your life is hanging on it. So I said, is it? And let's hope we'll get it. So I got good marks. Not very, something. It was 300, so it was not even about 200, but I got on 170, 175. That was a lot for what? It was like, if it's a stock market, I would say if I invested 10 rupees, you got 1,000 rupees for that. So I thought it was a good thing. Then, of course, when the ranks were announced and I thought I'll be getting the IPS, only I just prayed that, God, give me any state, but not Bihar. This I prayed every day. And God has a sense of humor. He posted me in Bihar. And that has been a great journey, of course. I did regret at that moment that I got Bihar, but I have no regrets now because I've learned a lot working in a state like Bihar. Now that my parents are not well, so I again shifted to Andhra Pradesh for a few days. So, by the way, just about my educational background, I did my schooling from Kendriya Vidyalaya. Then I went to IIT Madras, did my graduation in computer science. Then I joined that after my graduation, I gave an attempt. Even Latha was there with us. Uh, then, of course, I couldn't make it in the first attempt because even I had got trapped in the coaching love. So we get to screw our lives that way. She knows about it. And then reality hits you very hard. You realize that there are better options for her. So you get dumped. And then you think, okay, the only refuge is civil services. You come back to reality. So that happened to me also. I suffered for 2 years and then I realized that civil service is the only way to go. So in my third attempt, I cleared my exam along with. So that's when we went to interview. So before that, I was working as a scientist, missile scientist in DRDO. So I had done a lot of programming for the Agni missile that you keep reading in your general studies. Okay, I was there as a part of launch. I have seen the missile getting launched from a very secretive island somewhere in Bay of Bengal. So been a part of that and then joined the service. Of course, once people know that I was a missile scientist, people ask me, why did you join the service? But yes, it has been a great journey. Now, I'll ask you a few questions. Okay, this was broadly about what this is all about. Okay, let's have volunteers. Let me not pick up somebody. It will look like I'm actually trying to. How many of you have actually dreamt of being a civil servant? How many of you dream of your dream is to become a civil servant? How many of you are like that? Okay, all of you. See, the dream is very, very important because I don't know what it is for you. Of course, I was just kidding that those those who are aspiring for power and status only will get and others will not get. That's not true. All of you, many of you will get. In fact, I would like to see a lot of you getting this. But what I want to say is that you must have a dream. See, you need to feel motivated, but this is an exam which will test your motivation the most. It can drain out all your energy, all your motivation. There will be a point when you will feel like just giving up. But at that point of when you feel like giving up, there should be something you hold on to. And that should be a dream. It could be a revenge also, like in my case. Like I wanted to prove to her that yes, you made a bad choice. So it could be anything. What I'm saying is it could be any random thing, but it is something that you can stick on to. You should be able to, that should be more like he has a motivation. What's your name? Tirupati. Okay, so Tirupati has a motivation. He has seen his brother die. He went to a lot of officers who couldn't help him. He doesn't want things to be the same way. He wants to bring a change. Now, every moment, any moment he feels demotivated, the images of his brother and those scenes will keep coming back to his mind again and again and push him in during those times. So what I'm saying is, you don't have to tell me, but you must have a dream. You must have a dream of what will you hold on to when those times of demotivation. Remember, on an average, it is in the third attempt that people crack this exam. On an average, there are always exceptions. There are people who crack it in the first attempt. There are people who take more than 4 attempts, 5 attempts, 6 attempts, but on an average, it is the third attempt that people crack this exam. So there'll be 2 years of failure. You would have put in a lot of money, you would have put in a lot of time. Okay, all your relatives and your parents would have told, మా అబ్బాయి యూపీఎస్సీ ప్రిపేర్ అవుతున్నాడు, మా అమ్మాయి యూపీఎస్సీ ప్రిపేర్ అవుతుంది. Girls have an additional pressure of marriage. It's so easy to get demotivated in those first 2 years or 1 year or whatever. When you face failure, it's so easy to give up and not go along that path. But you need something to hold on. And what you need to hold on is your dream. So, first thing, dream. Today you go back, ask yourself why you are doing this. Pick up your motivation. What is your motivation? And this, if it's a picture, for him it could be a picture of his brother on front of his table. For you, it could be something else. For somebody who wants power and status, could be of a vehicle with bodyguards around and then paste on the wall. Yes, paste on the wall. Keep looking at it. Then, in those moments of depression or not feeling motivated, you will feel motivated. Okay. Now, once you feel motivated, now when you have a dream, you have something that will motivate you. Now, what you do is you need to convert that motivation into action, like your preparation, obviously. So, one of the tough things that we used to face, I'm sure you also used to face, is time management. How do you manage time? I've already told you're not here, you're not hearing. I've already told. You just missed it. Have I not told you? Coaching love. Okay. So let's come to the third aspect, like what's your time management thing? So how many of you spend at least 3 hours in a day apart from your coaching studying? 3 hours. 3 is like, what? Are there anybody who's studying less than 3 hours? Anybody who's studying less than 3 hours? Okay, how many of you studying 4 hours at least? 5 hours? Oh, anybody 0 hours? I see those 3 rows, they are not even raising hands for anything. You are not studying at all? You are studying? How many hours? Like on average? Anybody studying 8 hours? 7? 7. Okay. How many studying 6? 5? I am watching those 3 rows. 4? 4 hours? 3 hours? 2? 1? 0? I will tell you these things. A very good, before, see, at this point of time, anything around 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours should be very good. After, say, 2-3 months, anything around 6 to 7 hours would be very good. I think you would reach a saturation around 8 hours. 8 hours, apart from coaching, 8 hours should be a lot. I think you don't need more than that. But here comes a rider. When I say 3 hours, does it mean that you're keeping your book on the table and you have a phone beside you? And then you are sitting there for 3 hours. After 3 hours, 1 hour you are just reading, and then 2 hours you are checking what is the latest status update on WhatsApp and Instagram. If that is the case, then that is not what I want. So what I used to do was I used to have a stopwatch. So obviously you get to go in between. Somebody calls you, or your mother calls you to do some household work. So I used to sit down, hit the stopwatch. As soon as I would get up, I would again stop the stopwatch. So that used to keep a log of my time, like how many hours I have studied. So once it's like, say, 4 hours or 5 hours, but I found that hitting even 6 hours was very, very difficult. Okay, just before the, say, mains examinations, mains exam is in like 2 months away. That is when I used to hit 8 hours. But otherwise, on an average, with the stopwatch, 6 hours was a very, very tough thing. So if you're able to do that, I think you will achieve a lot. So when you are studying, don't just say, okay, I'm studying with the books and 3 hours is like that, and I have a phone with me. And try to avoid your phone as much as possible. Of course, some people are addicted to it, but try to do it. Now, how many of you are early risers? See, there are two kinds sets of people who are active in the morning, early in the mornings, and some people are very active in the night. So, how many of you are, say, day creatures? I would say, what? How many of you are day creatures? How many of you? What I mean is, how many of you are comfortable reading in the morning, studying in the morning? Okay, almost half. And how many of you are in the night? Okay, my majority. So, see, anything is fine. Okay, there's nothing like, you just have to be somebody who raises up early in the morning, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. My thing was, I was an early riser and I used to study early in the morning, because during the day, what happens is there are a lot of events that happen, and then your mind, gets entangled in those events. So by the night, it's like even you are carrying the baggage of the whole day. So I used to feel it was very tough to study in the nights. But I used to wake up very early in the morning. Normally, like, see, most of them are night creatures, so there are very few people to disturb. So I used to get that time well. I used to be able to use it. So it's okay. But I know of my own batchmates who study a lot in the night. They don't wake up till 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Anybody who wakes up till 10 o'clock here? You? Okay. Anybody 11 o'clock? Nobody. Okay, good. So that's about time management broadly. You have to use a stopwatch. I wouldn't give any specific things, but you should have your plan. Like, say, what happens is you should always plan in reverse. Like, if you are aiming for, say, this year's mains examination, so when should your revision start? So if your revision should start, say let's say your mains exam is in, say, September. Okay, so next year September, it's let's say just so you should have started revising at least 2 months before that. So September, August. So maybe by the by at the beginning of August, you should be in a phase to revise. So if you revise by August, so when should your mains preparation be over? So you have to actually plan it backwards. Okay. So if you have to study so much syllabus, how should you split it? You will actually realize that when you do it, you realize that you actually don't have much time. Okay, syllabus is vast, it's an ocean. So you realize that there's not much of a time. So that is how you should plan your time management. Plan it backwards, have your long-term goals, have your monthly goals, have your weekly goals, and have your daily goals. If you do that, then it will be done. It will be a good one. Now, coming to the other part. Now, that's a time management thing. The hard work, smart work. There's always, so there is again one tip that I would want to give. What happens is, we think that we are doing a PhD research. Sometimes we get into the trap. We have to understand a topic. We study it in the textbook. You realize that you understood the topic well. So you only also go to Wikipedia, study there, download some 10 or 15 journal articles, even study that. The next day you will blast your classmate who has not studied, poor fellow who has not studied that topic. That, do you know this, and make him feel inferior. So you shouldn't get into that. You shouldn't get into research mode. You have to only have good enough answers to start with. So that is where I would talk about a concept called edge. Now, if you look at the 40,000 students who are writing, say 20,000 students who are writing the exam, everybody would be roughly prepared the same way, right? They've all cleared prelims. They're more or less on the same path. They're almost equally good. But what makes those students special who clear this exam? So they have something called the edge. So what is this edge? And how do you get this edge? So my style was this. What I used to do was, I used to have a basic skeleton of every topic. Like, if there's a topic, you would have a basic skeleton for that. Okay. Now this is a basic skeleton which everybody would know. Now I want to add the edge. Okay. So what would I do is, so that skeleton would be just a single page, just the broad points on what the issues are. Now what I would do is, I would roughly go through some journals or some weeklies or some magazines or Yojana, Kurukshetra, The Hindu, Pick up some facts from that, some interesting facts, some interesting analysis, and add it to that particular skeleton answer, or some quotes, some case studies. I would just add to that. So that would give me my edge. So now everybody would write the same answer roughly, but my edge is the additional facts that I used, the additional case studies that I used, or additional quotes that I used, if it is like an optional subject. In an optional subject, if you are able to quote some good thinkers in your answers. So most of you have gone through, or anybody is taken PubAd. So you need, even in that subject, you need to have, if you can quote some thinkers or some, some experts. So that gives you edge uh, for your answer. So that edge is very, very important. So don't do hard work, do smart work. So when I say smart work, when I say hard work, it's like reading one newspaper and then on that topic reading 10, 15 newspapers. No. Get to a textbook, stick to a textbook, get your basic skeleton of the answer, and then add spices to it from various other places. So that's how you should do it. Okay. The next aspect, the personality aspect, which we were always talking about the interview. See, what happens is this exam itself builds your personality. Okay. Like balance of judgment. Okay. How do you behave in times of crisis? This exam actually is a part of your training to become a civil servant. That also you should understand. Because when as a civil servant, there will be moments of huge crisis. You have to keep your head on in those moments of crisis. There will be times when you would be facing failure. There would be times when nobody would believe you. There would be times when your own people would be doubting you, your seniors would be doubting you. But if you have to still stick on to what you think is right, you need a lot of internal courage. You should strongly believe in yourself. So that belief system is actually, the seeds for that is sown here in your preparation. You believe that I can make it. You must believe that you will be able to make it. Vastundo rado, try cheddam. That's not the right attitude. You should believe that you will be able to make it. You should tell yourself. So one of the things, of course, I do even now, one of the things you can do is there's something called morning affirmations. Morning affirmations, you will get it in YouTube also, where he will keep, it's like half an hour, 15 to 20 minutes. It's just a small, it's like an audio thing, I am confident about myself and all that. Blah, blah. So you close your eyes and just listen to what he's saying and start believing that you are actually that. That helps a lot. So your personality grooming is very, very important. One thing that helps you a lot in your development of your personality and your, ensuring that you think very broadly is reading a lot of books. Okay. What happens in this during preparation is we just somehow lose track of our preparations in the sense of what we think we can do. Like you may have some hobbies and you would not work on those hobbies. You may like reading, but you would not work on reading. You will say, okay, I would rather spend that 1 hour in preparing for civil services than, reading some random books. But it's not true. So reading books will help you develop your personality, and do concentrate on your hobbies, because that's a topic on which the board dwells a lot. It keeps you asking questions on that. And the questions would be very, very random. So if you are actually, and that's a topic, that's like a jackpot. You get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you lose a lot. Because you said something is your hobby and you're not able to answer questions related to your hobby, then it leaves a very, very bad taste in their mouth. And then they would not give you any good marks. That's very clear. So if you have a hobby, spend at least 1 hour a week, or at least 2-3 hours a month. Take off your time from your social media, and you can spend your time on hobbies. But don't say Instagram is your hobby. You may be having it, but you have to develop some hobbies which are like, even that could be, but how, I don't know how to package it in front of a board, interview board. But you should develop something that will add to your personality. Okay. It could be, cooking, or it could be, some random. You can just pick up. You can just go to some website, look at what are the hobbies and see what is that interests you. I'm sure by this time you'd have understood what is that you would want to do in your free time. So my thing is like I am into stock markets. I do a lot of trading. Okay. So you can also pick up your hobbies. So that is the thing about personality. And be very, very honest. So that doesn't come on that day of interview. Suddenly on the day of interview, it will not be like, okay, I become honest. My personality has changed. It doesn't happen. You have to build it over a period of time. Okay, you have to build those positive qualities within you over a period of time. And that is when it gets imbibed in your subconscious. And then you can, you can project that image of yours in front of the interview board. This one last part, the mindset before examination. So what happens is just before the exams, we are all very panicky. And I've actually seen students going into the examination hall, reading up some answers. Okay. So my thing was, one day before the exam, I would not touch the books completely, whether prelims or mains or whatever. Don't touch the books at all. If you have not studied for all this 1 year, you're not going to study anything more in the next one day. And the probability that what you have studied will come in the exam is very, 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 very low. So there's no point. That one day, just do as maybe if you have a pursue your hobbies. You want to freak out with your friends, go freak out with your friends. You want to sit peacefully in your room, just sit peacefully in your room. Yes, you will be under panic that you are not making your books, you have exam tomorrow, and everybody will put you into panic. Exam you don't have to panic. Okay, that puts you into some sort of relaxation mode. And the reason is this, there's a reason. See, what happens in our brain is we organize our thoughts or whatever information that we feed into our brain at the times of rest. When we are not thinking anything, that could be when you're meditating or when you're sleeping. That's when the brain actually rewires its whole neural network system to accommodate the data that you studied properly. So those who don't sleep well will have serious issues. So if you are a person who needs 8 hours of sleep, don't burn the midnight oil and sleep for just 5 hours or 6 hours and feel great about it. If you feel like sleeping for 8 hours, that's what gives you complete rest. Sleep for 8 hours. Because 8 hours are not wasted. Those 8 hours are being used by the brain to organize your data, your information. So that helps in a fast recollection. That's why you see that when you don't have proper sleep, you are actually very disturbed. You're not able to take proper decisions. You are not even able to accommodate what is the information being given to you, maybe in a class. So don't, so that's what. So sleep well. So that particular day when you are not studying, so you're not putting a lot of stress on the brain. So the brain is now organizing all the data so that on your day of examination, you're able to recollect it. So broadly, this is what I wanted to say. So this ends my part of lecture. Now the house is open for questions. So seriously saying the difference between the first and the third attempt was I was lost in emotions in the first one. I was giving a lot of concentration and importance to that. The third one, it was the other way. Like that emotions actually pushed me to get into it. So that is the emotional part. But preparations wise, of course, I had started by choosing maths and physics because I was passed out of IIT Madras. So I thought, okay, I'm this great champion. I can do physics and maths and crack this exam and be a topper. So by the way, that year, I got, there was, that used to be, those were the days when we used to have the exam for 600 marks, the GS. So there I got around 375 in GS and I had got around 150 in essay. So that combined was like the combined score, those times was one of the top 10 in the country. So the stress on GS was maybe one of the reasons that happened during that time, which is a lot of stress on gen studies, the current affairs, especially I used to read a lot of current affairs. And somehow it was in that time, 2002, that UPSC started focusing more on current affairs, more on analytical skills of students, how they can analyze an issue. So that helped me a lot. Yeah, I forgot a factor about luck. This is one factor I just forgot completely. So just from where you said, taking there from the question, how many of you believe luck is important? Okay. How many of you believe that luck is not important? It's all hard work. I'll explain you this in terms of hand of God. This is what I say is hand of God. This is not for demotivating you, but this is an argument discussion that I even had with Latha. See, what I believe, or based on how many of you have heard, have you heard of Nicholas Taleb? Have you heard of Black Swan? They say Black Swan event. Black Swan event is an event that was never expected in history, like the stock market crash when Corona was on. So these are these rare events which are normally not predicted. So they're called Black Swan. So Nassim Nicholas Taleb is an author who writes on these issues. He says that a lot of luck plays a lot of a role in what happens in our life. Okay, so that I realize because I see a lot of people I interact with who have a higher IQ, who have a better understanding of the whole situation than me. I feel they should be in my chair and I should be on that side. But if they were not able to make it, it's because of luck. Now, I am not giving you a solution for your failure. No. If you're not able to clear it, don't say that it was bad luck. That's not what I'm trying to say. See, you have to understand this point very, very carefully. See, what I say is luck plays the gift of God, the hand of God. I'll call it the hand of God. The hand of God plays a very, very important role in your lives. Okay. But the hand of God is not always there with you. Okay. It comes at intervals. When it comes at intervals, are we prepared to take it? Are we ready to receive it? Or there will be a time when your luck and your hard work would combine together to make you a civil servant. But if the luck had come your way and you hadn't worked hard enough, then the luck would come and go. And again, there would be a cycle. It will not come back again, not very soon. So when it comes, you should be prepared. The only way to prepare is doing a lot of hard work. This is how you should look at the luck factor. You are actually preparing to receive that hand of God, to receive that luck, so that at that appropriate time, the luck combines with your hard work to get you into civil services. But if you had not worked hard, even luck had come, you would not be there. Because God was ready to bless you, but you are not ready to take it. So I think I just forgot the topic. I want to tell you about that. The factor of luck, because people are it's so easy to blame on luck. Bad luck, couldn't make it. It's okay, but that will come. The favorable luck will also come. But have you put your 100%? That's a question that you need to answer to yourself. Okay, any more questions? IITs and doctors most of the time fail actually. I'll tell you my own batchmate, Manoj, he's a Maharashtra cadre IPS officer. He failed in his 12th standard. There was an IAS officer, of course, I will not name him, but when he went to, we used to hear these stories. When he went to RC Reddy, he was asked, what is the optional you want to take? He said, Piscology. So RC Reddy was taken aback. He didn't know for a while what was being talking of. What was this boy talking of? What is this optional? Sir, he said PSYCHO, Piscology, sir. He said, no, it's not Piscology, it is psychology. And he cleared the optional with psychology. I can see that. See, on an average, like in my state, hardly there are, I think, 4 or 5 from IITs. So IITs and doctors are not a very common breed. Like 100, there will be some 20%, 80% would be from, and there would be people from all backgrounds. It's not see, what I can only say is somebody from a rural background, the access to, say, good coaching centers and information, that is a limitation. But now that is not there because of information technology, geo, etc. You can access all the sources. Like there is so much. YouTube itself will have so many resources. So because of at least all these developments, that's no longer a handicap. But yes, you should work on your language. See, finally it happens is however good your ideas are, but if you're not able to express them, then people judge you by what you say, right? Not by what you think, because they don't know what you're thinking. So you should learn how to express. So for that, you should learn how to do a proper conversation, definitely in English and definitely in your language. Okay. Yeah. Some other question? See, there are a few factors. Like there are some push factors, there are some pull factors. You dream of becoming an IA civil servant, and this is an examination which will not make you feel very confident about it. You can't start sitting and singing. So I used to read those books and I used to tell myself that, yeah, I believe I'll become a civil servant. But heart in heart, somewhere in the mind, what are you talking? So I used to even go through those bouts. But then, if you look at it like a life and death situation, if this is not there, then of course that's where peer pressure helps a lot. Like in my case, I'll tell you what was a turning point. I had a friend called Ishwar. Ishwar is now settled in Singapore. He's a genius. So one day, this was like I had cleared my prelims and I was casual about mains. So one day he came to my room. He started closing all my books and he used to take my books and he was throwing away in a corner. He said, "Odlera, ఎందుకు నీకు చదువులు ఊరికే జనాలకు చూపించుకోవడానికి మాత్రం చదువుకుంటున్నావు. You just want to show off to people that you are preparing for civil services," which most of that I used to do that time. What are you doing? Preparing for civil services. Oh, our boy is preparing for civil services. We need at least 2 crores dowry. We don't know whether he'll clear, but he is preparing for civil services. After prelims, it's a one rate. I used to hear those cases. Now, so he said that. So he started throwing my books away. He said, "There's no point studying. You will not make it. You're just putting a show off in front of the public that you are preparing for civil services and all." And then that was a turning point. I said, "Yes, what am I doing?" I realized. Then there was a 3-hour lecture for me. Just like you are having a lecture here. Like what a fool I am and how I'm wasting my time and how I'm all doing all this acting. And then it turned around. I turned around. Very big motivation for me. And that happened for me even in my 12th standard when my father suddenly one day locked my study room. And he said, "There's no point preparing. If this way you prepare, you're not going to get into IITs." That those were days we just had 5 IITs. 1997, way back. So that's how it happens. So peer pressure helps a lot. Your parents' pressure also helps a lot. Your coaching love also helps a lot if it is there. And of course, those motivations like Tirupati has something from within, what you have actually faced in life, those help a lot. Don't think of any science related subjects. Not a good option. Because see, what happens is with a subject like sociology or anthropology or political science, there are parts that have not grown. Like there is a part of the theory which is almost static, and then there is a part which is evolved with time, like the current affairs part. So at least what is static, you will know what the expected questions are, because how many can they create? If you can look at last 20 years question papers, you will know what will be the next year's question paper. For the dynamic part, you will only have to prepare. But if it takes subjects like science or something like that, then what happens is like there is a continuous evolution. Even a subject like geography, there's a lot of evolution that's happening every day. Even if you take global warming, a topic like global warming, you just get lost. He can talk you about a specific species in say Antarctica and ask you what is the influence of global warming on that. What do you do? I was like, when I joined, I think it applies to women as well. So I'll tell you, I was physically weak when I joined the service. So there is a grueling of 1 year. 1 year, it's a very, very tough life. There is no training like IPS, not IAS, not IRS, because you learn everything from handling your weapons to swimming to horse riding to martial arts to rock climbing. There's nothing you don't learn. And it's a very tough regime. Like you wake up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and your day just goes on like that till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the night. And there are times you spend in the jungles. I remember in the first week when we joined the service, when I joined the IPS Academy, NPA National Police Academy here, we were actually running on the grounds carrying the weapons. I remember we used to get 1 or 2 minutes late. So they used to have this. We have SLR. We call it SLR. So this weapon we have to put on our backs and then run for 4 rounds. So for 1 round, running 1 round without the weapon was a tough challenge here. Now you're making 4 rounds with that weapon, but that built us physically strong. Now, like mentally strong is something which is very, very, uh, it's something about your personality. See, girls have done extremely, extremely well in the IPS. My own batchmate and squad mate is one Manzil Saini. She is now in NHRC. She was Lucknow SSP. Lucknow is the capital of UP, and she was the SSP of Lucknow. She was the best girl in her batch in the sense she was at that time she was 32-year-old, and she already had 2 kids. And every Saturday we used to have this 10-kilometer long run. Every morning, Saturday morning, we have to run for 10 kilometers. So we used to run as a squad. Like a squad will have around 15 to 20 probationers. So we used to run as a squad. So Manzil was always the one who was leading us. Of course, I was the last one. And we would say, Yaar Manzil ko roko, yaar Manzil ko roko. We can't run like that. So it's not at all, it's all in your mind. But as far as your physical fitness is concerned, they will develop it. Not a problem. When policy making happens, right? So you should understand this. A policy making doesn't come out of somewhere. It is always a response to a situation. When there is a policy made, it's always a response to a situation. So there is a problem that is identified, and that's why the policy comes up. Can we have your attention? Yeah. So once you decide what the problem is, so you should first identify the problem. Then remembering the policy will not be very difficult. You will know what is the problem and what are the aspects of the policy that will handle that problem. You have to write. See, poverty is such a generic topic. It depends on the question, a lot of things. But it all depends on the questions. See, you should learn to, write 1 or 2 answers, which I think Latha will surely do it. See, this again, your preparation goes like stock market. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, goes up, goes down. But on a long term, it should actually go up. There are days when you'll not be able to prepare. There are days when there'll be bad days. Your body, your mind will not cooperate with you. It happens. It's okay. But it's like 5 days in a week, like 7 days, hard days, and you just leave it. So 5 days in a week, it should not be like 4 days your body is not cooperating, only 1 day it is cooperating. Then you are going the down slope. It should be like 5 days, 4 days is cooperating. 1 day you are feeling like doing something else. Training in Masuri, when he comes back, I don't know what are the latest things, but when he comes back, he will share it. Okay, good question. Or see, I'll tell you one thing. One thing about the civil service and why you should actually try very hard for it is that suddenly the way the whole society looks at you changes actually. Like when I was preparing for the exams, I was not attending any functions and of relatives. That you do. You need to sacrifice a lot. This is an exam which calls for a lot of sacrifice. So if you talk, we can have discussions later. In the sense, not a problem, but let me just answer and then you can have your discussions. It calls for a lot of sacrifices, and people start, saying, "What is this? He doesn't even come for functions. He doesn't spend time with us. Doesn't give us calls." But once you clear the exam, right, the same people would want to get associated with you and would have completely forgiven you for what you have not done. Most importantly, see, you will see you will see the whole system from the other side. Like I remember one day when my parents I had to pick up my parents from a train. I had to go to the railway station. It was 2 o'clock in the night. Just passed out of IIT. So I had to walk. So there were at least 40 dogs behind me. I thought any time I would become their dinner, lunch, whatever. And suddenly I saw a police constable. I felt so relieved. He started asking me a lot of questions. But I thought, okay, please keep asking questions. Don't stop. Because once you go, the dogs will be behind me. So you see that side of the life, where you are being questioned. You come to this side where you question. Okay. So you see, there's nothing in the system as powerful as the government. You must understand that. So you become a part of the government. So you are very powerful. So there is a drastic quantum jump in terms of your status, in terms of the way people look at you, etc. But what is the problem is that we don't see. The problem is we lose humility somewhere. That should not happen to you. What happens is there is that arrogance that gets into us once you get into civil services. I have seen it with a lot of people. But you must remember that there have been civil servants who were great today, were not great tomorrow. Look at retired bureaucrats. Do you know who is the present cabinet secretary? Cabinet secretary is the highest IAS officer in the country. Do you know who the present cabinet secretary is? Do you know who was the previous cabinet secretary? Do you know who is the chief secretary of the state? Previous chief secretary? Previous chief secretary after before that? You know the DGP of the state? Who was the previous DGP? Nobody remembers this. I have seen this. IPS dinners, I used to go, there used to be retired DGPs who used to come for those dinners. Retired IAS, senior IAS officers who used to come to those dinners, and young officers would not talk to them because now they are not relevant in the system. Okay. So this arrogance, let it not seep into you because it's so easy to happen. I thought you'll ask about civil services. Anyway, you people have actually, okay, see, with population, there is an increase in crime. Population increases every year. So crime would also increase every year. Why would you expect that crime would decrease while population is increasing? See, what we want is that specific heads don't grow. Like violence against children, violence against women. These are the heads that wouldn't grow. But generally, there is always an uptrend in crime. But the uptrend is not very high. But there would be an increase in crime. There's no denying that. So thank you so much for your time.